Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kieran Van Ryan. I'm a second year LOLO PhD student at UCL. Welcome to my presentation on the relationship between ventilation practices and air quality, noise, and overheating. Today I'll be splitting my 45-minute allocated time slot into two sessions. It will begin with a 10-minute presentation and a 10-minute Q&A session. I'll begin by giving some background. So on average, Europeans spend 80 to 90% of our time indoors, at home, at work, at university, shopping, etc. This can be much higher for some parts of the population. For example, infirm, elderly, young and disabled might spend much longer indoors. We're also in the midst of a worldwide pandemic and a national lockdown, where people are spending more time at home and possibly more time indoors. The indoor environment plays an important role in our health and well-being. Research has linked indoor environmental quality with numerous serious cardio and respiratory diseases, allergies, cognitive performance, mental health and general well-being. There are many thousand deaths every year in the UK due to overheating, poor indoor air quality and noise. The full impact of the indoor environment on overall health and well-being is poorly characterized and not fully understood. Our understanding of how indoor environmental quality affects our health and well-being is still developing. During the pandemic, many people are currently working from home, and people might continue to work from home in the future. And so, the indoor environment, particularly in our homes, is more important than ever before. There are a number of important factors which mean this field is fast changing and become more important in the future. These are potential future viral pandemics, urbanization, densification, the urban heat island effect, climate change, lightweight and airtight buildings, the growing and aging population, and changes to environmental noise. Ventilation is an important modifier of indoor environmental quality and has a relationship with overheating, indoor air quality, and noise. Ventilation allows us to exchange air between the inside and outside of our homes. This allows us to control air quality, dilute contaminants from internal sources, control temperature and humidity. However, ventilation can also introduce pollution, noise, and warm air from outside, which could compromise the indoor environment and have an adverse impact on occupant health and well-being. Occupant ventilation behaviour is poorly characterised, and we know very little about the real-world impacts of ventilation on overheating, indoor quality and noise together. Much of the research typically considers only one aspect in isolation and not all of these important aspects together. There is an important need to better characterise the relationship between ventilation practices and overheating, air quality and noise in an integrated fashion using primary empirical evidence. A better understanding of this relationship will allow us to better evaluate solutions to indoor environmental quality and reduce the health risks of poor indoor environmental quality. So, the aim of my research is to investigate the relationship between occupant ventilation practices and indoor environmental quality factors, including overheating, indoor air quality and noise, and to relate this to health and well-being thresholds and guidance. In 2019, I completed a pilot study in a single flat on the 6th floor of a residential building in London. The flat had single-sided natural ventilation. It had an open-plan living room and dining room. In this flat, in every room, inside and outside of the dwelling, I measured temperature, relative humidity, carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, nitrogen dioxide, total VOCs, PM1, PM2.5, PM10. I also measured when any window or door had opened or closed, and I also measured noise inside and outside across all third octave band frequencies. I measured all variables at 5-minute intervals. I did a monitoring campaign for around 10 months, which resulted in a large detailed dataset with high temporal and spatial resolution. I was able to infer occupancy from the event sensors. Analysis of my pilot study data showed that the living room, bedroom, and kitchen all overheated when measured against SIBSE static and adaptive overheating criteria. One interesting finding was that the dwelling was in background ventilation most of the time, using trickle vents. It was in this mode of ventilation when the indoor temperature was above the thresholds for comfort, despite the fact that the external temperatures were lower than the internal temperatures. So the flat could have benefited from opening the windows most of the time in order to reduce the indoor temperatures. A key finding of the pilot study was that ventilation practices that have the potential for higher air exchange rates are associated with significantly higher indoor noise levels. For example, when ventilating the dwelling in background ventilation, if the occupants decide to open the windows, the noise level inside would become significantly higher. If the occupants decided to use the cooker hood, the noise levels again would become significantly higher. And if the occupants decided to use the cooker hood and open the windows or doors, the noise again would become significantly higher. This was the case both during the day and during the evening. The key finding of the whole study was that generally ventilation practices with the potential for higher air exchange rates resulted in lower air pollutants, hence better indoor air quality. However, it also resulted in higher noise levels and also higher temperatures. The higher temperatures were due to the fact that the windows were opened when it was hot outside. During the pilot study, we found the event sensors to be intrusive, unsightly, costly, unreliable, and did not offer the facility for remote monitoring. In addition, there is one key drawback, and that is they can only really tell you if a window or door is open or closed, not any intermediate or ajar positions. This led me to develop a new novel method of inferring or predicting window positions, so open, closed, and the intermediate or ajar positions from sound measurements across all third octave band frequencies, both inside and outside of a window or door. To facilitate this, Ben Fenwick of Public Health England developed a new novel Raspberry Pi based sound monitoring platform with me to enable remote monitoring of noise or sound across all third octave band frequencies, both inside and outside of a dwelling simultaneously. The method for inferring whether a window are open or closed starts with measuring sound both inside and outside of a window to collect training data. Training data involves changing the position of the window and recording the times and those positions over a period of time. During the experimentation phase of this method, we open and close the windows over the period of a day. Step 2 is to collect the test data over the whole monitoring period. Step 3 is to ingest, clean, and pre-process the data. Step 4 is to train a statistical model using the training data that you've collected in step 1. And finally, step 5 is to use the model that we've trained in step 4 to predict the window positions for the test data. I tested this method in 2 settings. One was in a setting where we frequently changed the window positions every half an hour over a period of around 10 days, and the second one is in a real life setting where the window adjustments were real or natural. For each of these settings we tested 2 models, a linear and a logistic model. In both settings the linear model was more accurate. So in the experimental setting we found the linear model to be 85.6% accurate at predicting open, ajar and closed window positions, and in the real life setting we found the linear model to be 96.7% accurate at predicting the window positions. It must be noted that in the real life setting there were very few ajar positions, and so the model was only actually having to differentiate between open and closed positions. My future plans are to carry out detailed measurements of indoor environmental quality in up to 4 dwellings for a year, and also have social sciences to bring a deeper insight into the technical monitoring campaign. The social sciences I wish to employ are a questionnaire and walkthroughs, all subject to COVID risk assessments. Thank you for listening. I'd be delighted to take any questions now.